wait a minute, it's not about being born in the wrong body at all. I am right. God made me the way I am, but I'm just don't live that so people don't see that. So I have to change something about myself, right? At the time, it was about changing myself to match what I thought that I wanted others to see, right? And not so much about feeling comfortable in my own skin so much, more about I just wanted to feel like I wasn't living a lie. I knew that I wasn't female. I didn't know if I was male, but I felt like I was something else entirely. And when I read other books and I read about history, I learned about the Berdacce people and the Native American tribes. And this dates back years and years. The Berdacce people, they were both. They were usually male, biologically male, but they were very feminine. They weren't the hunters. They weren't that type of person within the tribe, but they were also very feminine. And so what they would do is these people were leaders within the tribes. They would take care of the children where the fathers were lost at battle and provide the strength that the women needed to do some of the labor work within while the men were out hunting and do some of the labor work while also taking care of the children that had lost their parents. And so when I started to look at transgender identity in this light, it didn't seem so bad. It didn't seem so awful. It seemed like I was special. Now there was a story about being special. And I started to carry this message because as I was out there trying to make change, meanwhile, I didn't get to see my daughter. I felt like the ways of the world were wronging me. I was mad. So I came back and from the military, became the first person to go to college in my family and said, I'm going to do this. If no one can help me, I'm going to become a lawyer and take the case to court myself. And so that's what I did. I ended up getting a dual bachelor's in sociology and criminal justice. And then I furthered my education to go to NAU and get my master's in law and fight my own case. Meanwhile, doing advocacy work, getting in the community, leading parades, leading events, trying to create a community of people that didn't see it as an us and them or a difference, but something that we could identify that difference is fluid. And if God creates everything in his own image, and that's what I believe, and that's what I was taught to believe, then God doesn't make mistakes. And all of this difference is just a reflection of the difference that he created. And I started to look at things in this way and said, we've got to stop telling ourselves that we were born in the wrong body and that we've got to change something because this is really creating a problem in the way that we see ourselves. And so I just started to do education. I taught police departments and firefighters and doctors and medical physicians and anybody that would listen about the education that I was learning about people that were different from male or female. And then it got to the end of my master's degree. And now I had decided I was also going to transition. Being the first, I had to fly off the swing set, right? And I was the first in Northern Arizona to transition openly. It took me a lot. I had to sign a waiver that said, if I die, it's my fault before anybody would give me hormones. And it was like a journey. And I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know what I was going to do to come out the other side. I just felt like I needed to do this. And I didn't really have anybody else to talk to about it at the time. So being the first was a little bit scary. And so everybody was curious about the first person. So it gave me an opportunity to talk and share and be in front of others. But secretly behind the wheel or behind the scenes, I would go home and cry and go, I'm a fraud. I'm teaching about loving everyone and loving our community, but I hate myself. How can I do that? How can I be a hypocrite? And so as the TV stations and I was in the newspaper and I was on the front page of magazines and I'm like, okay, this is getting notoriety. Suddenly I was going a little viral and everybody was looking to me for the answers for the transgender community. And I said, ooh, I'm not the person. I'm still trying to figure it out. And so one thing led to another. And I said, well, I got to go back and fight this case. And so I went back to court after 5 years, wrote my own case, took it before the same judge, and I won, being the first transgender person in the state of Arizona to win full custody of their child. Thank you. Ah, Dave, good to see you. And I thought that in that moment, that was the victory. And yes, it was a win, but the war wasn't over. Because now, as a transgender person, I have a child who also had some problems and some challenges and had come from an abusive home. And now I'm trying to be a good parent. And now I can't be out there in the limelight anymore, being transgender superstar of the year with all the things to talk about when my daughter was at risk. Going to school, suddenly the kids at school weren't allowed to play with her anymore because her parent was me. Coming home crying and dealing with the things that she was dealing with, and then going to take her to counseling and trying to get her into counseling as a kid. And looking at the people looking back at me, the psychiatrist saying, well, you're the problem. You killed her mother. Saying this in front of my child, and I felt this anger, and I said, okay, I got to do more. So that advocacy reverted into something else, to be a resource. And at the time, I moved to Prescott with my daughter and started over. I started an organization called GYCC, which was an organization that provided an LGBT umbrella for all of Yavapai County and beyond. That when someone needed help, when that gay kid got kicked out of their parents' house and tossed downtown in the pouring rain in the middle of the night, we'd come and get them. When it came to holding events and gathering people, we brought them together. We felt that if we share the love of just love one another and accept people as they are and celebrate our identities, that would create the ripple effect. And it did. We created a faith bridge program where I would go into different churches and congregations and tell my story and share with people that it doesn't have to be whether someone's right or wrong, that we can love each other as we are. And the message spread and we did really well. But as I was trying to work and bring together donations, because it's very nonprofit, right? In the LGBT world, advocacy is more than 90% of all funding that goes to the LGBT community comes from philanthropy. So, and most of that is donors over the age of 65. So when I started looking at this fact and going, okay, I've got transgender people and LGBT people of all kinds that are really suffering. They're getting rejected from jobs, they're homeless, and I'm trying to build bridges with organizations to provide resources. So I ended up becoming basically the resource I'd always looked for. I have a 2 terabyte cloud. Now, it may not seem like that's much to some that have video and stuff, but we're talking just PDF documents and Word documents here, and lots of pictures of plants, of course. But I'm a garden person, so I have lots of pictures of flowers and rocks. But most of the bulk of that database that I've saved over 20 years' time has been resources and organizations and people's names that would be willing to help an LGBT person in need. And the mission of my education and training always was to make a commitment to do no harm. It's not about being a right or wrong. I never went into any talk trying to change the way anybody believes, what they were taught, or how they feel, but really to make a commitment to accept me as a person and love me as a person and love the community of people that trail behind me, and be willing to refer that person to someone who will help them regardless of their identity. So I made gray folders and we went into churches and we gave them to ministers and said, you don't even have to have rainbows. Just give them this folder with resources and send them to us. And the phone rang a lot. And then come about, well, exactly 5 years ago last week, a client close to me committed suicide. He was a transgender man. Subsequently, for the next 3 months, I lost 7 more. And it was a little more than I could take, a little bit more than I could handle. I was volunteering more than 40 to 50 hours a week in the community, not making an income. I was getting ready to lose everything. Facing adversity, trying to make change in policy, trying to be there for the next person, and all the people that came to me, my phone never stopped ringing. I couldn't take it. I about popped. At the same time, and on the same day that I got that phone call, a couple of weeks prior, I'd been a little frustrated and angry about data. I'm passionate about data. Why don't the big cities that are swallowing up all the money shed some down here to help our community. The average median age in Yavapai County is 57. More than 65% of our community that was reporting into any of my surveys were over the age of 65. But the community of need was 18 to 30. And so there was this disjoint. I'm going, I just want people to see that we have a community of need here, and we have a community, a robust community of great minds and love and compassion. And we need to somehow bridge those with data. Well, I wanted data to tell a story, and what a funny joke the next day, because your phones really do listen to everything. Facebook said, make your data tell a story. Harvard Business Analytics program. And I said, why the heck not? I'll apply. I apply as a joke. And I got in. And I found out I got in on the same day that I got the phone call that my client committed suicide. And I said, here's the moment where I got to make a change. I packed up all my stuff. I prepared for launch. Took me 3 months, and I went over the hill and moved to a completely new place. I opened a map and I said, I want to live in the center of the Southwest. I want to build this thing I've always talked about. I want to build a one-stop shop resource center online that will help everybody. Sounded crazy. Sounded like I was this risk taker. You're going to just start over life, Link, in the middle of everything? Yeah. Because if I don't figure this out, I can't be the one all be all resource person for everyone. I got to be able to spread the word, and other allies be able to carry that torch and not be afraid of our community or offending us. I got to do something about it. So I went to Harvard and I got a fancy master's degree in business, all about artificial intelligence, machine learning, data platforms, and all this great technology that's out there, and learned how to run it from the top of the world. I finally got to the top. And then I started seeing the rage in our communities, transgender people being really angry that they were being mispronounced and misnamed and misrepresented. And I'm like, wait a minute, I transitioned 15 years ago. These aren't my problems anymore. I don't have a problem using the restroom. I go in the men's and I have no issue there. Why are we debating and fighting over these small things? Why are we fighting against policy and spending all of our money to make change that's not going to make any change? We need to live by example. We need to be love and be happy with who we are in some respect, and teach each other to love ourselves as we are. That I didn't choose to be transgender. I chose to transition. That's the differentiating fact. A transgender person that takes hormones is no more or no less transgender than the person that does not. That's something that's inside. It comes from here. It's not external. Now, am I sorry that I transitioned by hormones and look like a man now? I was really sorry I lost my hair. I was really bummed about that. And it's the full cul-de-sac. It's never growing back. Rogaine is a lie. But at least I can grow a fine beard, you know? But all jokes aside, I wanted to come back to the community, but I didn't know how, because here was this angry community that now hated the white man that I now became. All that fancy degrees in education, being a white guy with an Ivy League college degree, trying to get a job in technology. Right. That's a joke. There's no way. And I was like, wow, I became the most hated stereotype. Now I love myself and who I am, but nobody wants to listen anymore. What do I do now? How do I get my story out there? Because it's a very, very dangerous world right now to talk about transgender identity. And it makes me angry that we have to pick things like beer cans to represent ourselves on. It makes me angry that we are talking about even putting kids on hormones yet. Now, it's none of my business whether somebody wants to do that or not. But what I can say is that there is not enough research out there and enough knowledge to know about what happens to us when we go on hormones. I face health complications today that it cannot be changed. because I decided to go on hormones. And we're not allowed to talk about those things because we don't want to question the validity of healthcare and being able to get hormones. I'm blessed that and fortunate that I've been able to go on hormones, but it's scary. And it's steps that people should be very aware of, that it does cause some things to go through menopause and male puberty at the same time. And if we don't seek therapists and seek guidance and seek peer help from others and have a good supportive network and a stable place to live and a job that we can depend on, it's not a very safe transition. And that takes all of us. Wrap around support and love for that person. And so when I think about that and wanting to create a one-stop shop resource center on the internet, and I was like, how do I grapple between my love for wanting to help the community, but indirectly, while also educating, while also making a living? How do you do that? And so I kept on going, and I kept with this idea and said, okay, I'm going to do it. I can go out there. I've seen top of the world now. I know what it looks like. I can get a fancy job making hundreds of dollars per hour. But that's not why I went. I always had the intention of coming back and bringing it all together so that people can find the help when they look for it, so that they don't feel alone. And so I did. I created a platform called NAZ Local. It's taken me about a year to put it all together, but 9 years total. We launched last Friday. So not the one we just had, but the one before it. Thank you. And so it's coming along. It's coming along, and it's coming along quite well. And I'm making sure that politics stay out and that we get away from this world that's created for us pretty intentionally. There's a lot of money that gets made off of our divide, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody else. There's a lot of money being made about us disagreeing on very basic principles and values. Everyone loves their family and wants their family to be safe, no matter what side of the fence you're on. Everybody has challenges and everyday challenges, and maybe doesn't feel comfortable in their body in some way, shape, or form or another. We got to start talking about these things and stop thinking about the us and them. And that goes for my own community. We got to stop getting so angry. Sometimes people are just wanting to get more education. Most of the time, when somebody finds out about me, they have just 1,000 questions. But the first thing they always do is apologize. Don't apologize. It helps to talk about who we are and not have to hide it. Because in order for you to truly know me, you must know that about me. But that doesn't mean I want to wear a billboard. And sometimes that's the expectation of our community, is that we have to be out and proud, when it doesn't always have to be like that either. I just want to be safe and know that I am safe when I am out. I'll end with this quote. It always meant the world to me, from the book Stone Bush Blues. She went to her teacher and said, she's very angry about the things happening in the world. And she said, what do I do about this? And the teacher said, do you know what it takes to change the world? What's that? You have to find other people that believe the same way you do. Come together in congregation. The only thing that you should do alone and must do alone is find out what's really important to you. We got to figure those things out, of what's really important to us individual, and find other people and celebrate together, and stop badgering each other. Stop, being angry with each other, and come from a place of understanding. And I want to leave you that today and say thank you. It's my friend that committed suicide came from this congregation. And this is the first time I've been in this building since he killed himself 5 years ago. So coming here today meant the world to me, and it's very important to me. And I'm thank all of you for coming. And those of you that are on Zoom, thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Chris. You've taken us on quite a journey. I think it's important to get out what you very well said to engage our audience. And so thank you very much for being here and sharing that. Now, will you please rise in body and spirit and join us in our closing song? So. Right, let's now extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this chalice, this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. So, and now, are there some visitors who are here for the first time who would like to introduce themselves? Yes? Anybody brave enough? All right. Well, be sure to join us across the hall in Davis Hall for our Unitarian coffee hour. We invented it. You have to know that. I'm a long time you. But please take just a minute to say hello to your neighbor before we exit and go to the next hall for coffee. And once again, thank you very much, Chris, to be with us with your wonderful message this morning. And good luck to your new venture. So.